Welcome back, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I want to just remind y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. Last video I got like 500-ish views, so that was, the first big views video I've gotten, and I appreciate all the support from everyone. Likes and subscribes and comments weren't as high as I would want them to be. Of course, you just gotta strive for more, but I appreciate all the support, and I apologize in advance for how I'm sounding and how I'm looking. I've just been going through a lot of personal matters these past few weeks. But finals are about to start today. I'm recording this the night before the finals start, and the day this comes out, the finals are going to start already. Is going to be the day of. So yeah, I just wanted to get this out, especially because these next few weeks I'm also going to be pretty busy with personal stuff. So I just wanted to get this out there, and hopefully I can get at least one more video during the finals. But if not, I'm definitely going to post a video after the finals. So I just wanted to get this out there. And before I get into the meat of the video, I just wanted to say, shout out to Carmelo Anthony for a great career. I was not one of those people, unfortunately, who, grew up watching him, because, I'm a lot younger of a fan than a lot of other people, but, still growing up, seeing the type of scorer that he was, and just having my brother cheese him in 2K all the time and destroy me because I'm trash at 2K. Just, respect to one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest scorers of all time. But the NBA Finals are set. The Denver Nuggets will be hosting the Miami Heat. This is not a finals I predicted. If you listen to the podcast or any of the previous videos I've posted, you'll know that I was not expecting the Denver Nuggets to be here. I was expecting, especially not the Miami Heat. I was expecting the Milwaukee Bucks to be here, kind of walk through the playoffs, kind of have a bump in the road with the Boston Celtics. And yet here they are, Miami Heat, greatest underdog story in a long time. But Miami Heat, Denver Nuggets, it's going to be, the best team versus the team with, I don't even know what to call them at this point, the biggest underdog of the NBA season. Yeah, like I said, I did not expect the Denver Nuggets to be here. Honestly, the Miami Heat, obviously, I don't think anyone expected them, but I was not a believer in this Denver Nuggets team. The Denver Nuggets, I expected them to have a lot of trouble with basically every team they matched up against. The Suns, I was kind of like, hey, the Suns are not a team that penetrates the paint, and they don't shoot threes that much. So I was like, I don't think the Suns were going to give them much problems, but to dismantle the Lakers in 4 games, I was not one of the people that expected this. Even when they were down, even when the Lakers were down 0-3, I was like, they gotta at least got one game. And no, the Nuggets took care of business. I see a lot of posts going around saying that all they had to do was beat an 8 seed, like a 5 seed, and a 7 seed to make it to the finals, which is what it should be. They're the first seed. They get rewarded for how they played during the regular season. I guess the most impressive thing was how they dismantled the Lakers, right? This was the best team after the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken, or at least they were top 3 defense, and then in the playoffs they were the best defense in the league. And I've like I said, if you go back and listen, I was not a believer in this Denver Nuggets teams. I thought the Lakers were going to give them a lot of problems. I thought that, the Lakers are a good paint presence. They have a good paint presence, and I thought that was going to give a lot of problems for the Denver Nuggets. But, you have to give them their flowers now, right? As someone who has not been a Jokic fan, who has not been a believer in him and the Denver Nuggets as a whole, I kind of just have to, tip my hat to them. They've taken care of business so far. Even with that, I can't just dismiss the fact that the Miami Heat have been counted out literally every series so far. This is a team that had to play 2 play-in games to get here, right? One of 2 play-in teams to ever, win an NBA series, right? Because before this season, no play-in team has beaten any, higher seed, right? So they've been doubted at every stop so far, and it's just difficult to count them out still, right? because this is a team with, I believe it was 9 undrafted players, the most in NBA history to make a finals run, right? You have players like Caleb Martin stepping up. You have players like Max Strus stepping up. You have players just all around stepping up, right? The next man mentality is really, really crazy in this team, right? Even a player like Duncan Robinson, who was getting multiple DNPs, coach's decision for, not being able to stay on the floor because of how bad he was defensively. This is a player, like, he has been a pivotal? No, not pivotal. He has been a pivotal player on this Miami Heat team, right? This is a player that I don't think, if you take off any of these players out of this complete team, they do not make this run, right? Like, I just mentioned 3 players who were pivotal pieces to this playoff run, and all of them were undrafted, right? And then on top of that, you have Jimmy Butler, right? The biggest underdog story of this season, maybe even the NBA as a whole, right? This is a player who was homeless, who was, he didn't get any D1 offers out of college. And then when he did go D1 after JUCO, he was a 30th overall pick, right? 15th man on the roster, to now all-star, superstar. Honestly, I mean, you can't say anything less, right? I think a lot of people, me included, were saying that he was the best player in the playoffs, but he did have a few bad games against Boston, which they ended up winning. So even if he's not the best, if he's the second best player in these playoffs, that is still one of the biggest underdog stories of all time, right? This is one of the biggest underdog stories of all time. And if the Miami Heat get swept in this series, I was saying the same thing if they blew a 3-0 lead, right? This is still a successful season. This is a team that was the 8th seed, that had to play 2 play-in games to get here, and they made it all the way to the finals. If they get swept here, if they get, if they just get dragged on, right? If they get blown out of the game every single time, 4 games in a row, this is still a successful season for the Miami Heat. And there's nothing anyone can say otherwise. But I think the biggest thing with this Miami Heat team is that, their depth is the one that got counted out. Of course, Jimmy Butler has been insanely playing out of his mind, right? Jimmy Butler has been going crazy these playoffs. And he is not, he's not a one-man army, right? Closest thing to it. But his supporting cast, his depth has been showing up and showing out, right? Even Bam, who I've been critical of because I've been such a huge fan of him for a long time, right? Even though he's struggling offensively, his defense is all still there, right? All these other players that I said, they're going out of their mind crazy, right? I think out of the 9 votes, Caleb Martin got 4 for the Eastern Conference, Finals MVP, right? Like, you can't count out this team. But on the other hand, right, this Denver Nuggets team, this is a team that's been one of the deepest this whole season. And they've been consistently deep. They've been consistently deep this whole season, right? They have player coming off the bench, just giving them the spark that they need in some games. And the 2 up top with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, I mean, it took me all the way this long to talk about him because just how great of a run Miami's been on. But this has been the best duo in the playoffs, right? By far and away the best duo in the playoffs, and they play very well together. They have amazing synergy, and you can just see it, right? They have camaraderie, which is something I don't like talking about too much. I'm one of those people that's kind of in the middle of eye test, eye test and bag conversation and advanced stats. I don't like being in either camps. I like being kind of in the middle. But if you look, I'm sure if you go through the advanced stats, you'll see the same thing where Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray they played so well off each other, right? Jamal Murray's been insanely clutch this playoffs, right? You see times where Nikola Jokic, not saying that he carries, but he leads them. He's a great leader for this team. He leads them to where they need to get, and Jamal Murray closes it out, just like that's what his job is, right? And to think that this was a guy who tore his ACL just a few seasons ago, coming back and performing like this, it's just inspirational to see, right? I keep talking about Miami, how much of an underdog they are, how much they're overperforming, but you also got to give your flowers to the Denver Nuggets. But it's just so difficult to decide which team that could really make this playoffs interesting. As a basketball fan, right, I have no one that I'm rooting for, but I still hope that we get a good series, right? because these playoffs have been insanely good, right? There's been a lot of great series, a lot of great games, a lot of players overperforming like crazy, a lot of good moments. But as a basketball analyst, or at least someone who's aspiring to be a basketball analyst, this has been one of the most difficult playoffs to analyze, right? This is one of the playoffs where so many upsets happened, so many teams that weren't supposed to be here got to where they were, and it's just still carried on all the way to the finals, right? And with that, I mean, it's kind of difficult to decide who should win the NBA Finals, who might win, who I think would win the NBA Finals. I think the Denver Nuggets have been the best team in the playoffs, and I think you can't count them out. I think you have to give it to them. I think you have to say, hey, this is the team that's probably going to win the finals, right? They've been the best team in the league. I'm not counting out Miami at all. I love this Miami Heat team. Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players. I am not counting them out. But as a basketball analyst, I do think that the Denver Nuggets are the team that is most likely going to come out on top. And whoever wins, I'm just excited to see some good basketball. I think this is where, I'm going to just remind everyone, comment down below who you guys have in the finals, and I'll see you guys next time.